specific features. That is the title of this one, and it's really about all the different features that Paladin has that cater to lumber and building materials sector. It also applies in other areas and other retail markets as well. There are several features in here that are cross-pollinate multiple niche markets. So we'll be talking about all of those. And at the end of this, there will be a recording, so you can watch this, of course, and that's always available and will be posted within 24 to 48 hours. So let's go ahead and get started. So to look at the agenda, we're going to cover some of the features that we had in the system in the past, and then in the past year or two, features we've added, and then some of the newest lumber features that we've added. I'll be going into specifically some of these areas and look at the Profit Analyst, which has been a huge success in lumber building materials to empower the salesperson with a calculator, if you will, to find out how they're doing on that particular invoice and on each product when it pertains to profit and cost and so on. We'll look at special orders. There have been some enhancements to special order. We're always continually adding on to that. Footage calculator, a few enhancements there. Yard order printouts and print formats, we've enhanced it quite a bit as well. And then we've added some minimum margin enhancements that you are going to love. And I don't know if you've already used these or not or taken advantage of this, but tremendous ways of controlling your margin and making sure that you're not giving product away. And you can define that margin at the department level, which is really cool. Of course, 1,000 board foot, the cost wizard, we'll look at that a little bit. And then our latest and newest feature, the project or job tracking, we call it. So looking at the lumber features of the distant past, we had always had in our system a method and a way that we can store quotes and on-hold tickets and special orders and so on. And that is, we've always enhanced that as well. We've added a few things here and there like kits and construction bundles. That was added to that area as well. Custom contractor pricing and discounts, just your trade discounts that you can do. You can actually, in Paladin, you can set it up to where, and you've probably already taken advantage of this, but you can set it up where your contractors have one particular pricing plan, your paint contractors another, your framers another, your plumbers, your electricians. You can actually favor their trade and entice them to shop in your store by giving them a steeper discount on some of the products that they would buy more frequently, but then those other products, you'd give them a smaller discount, and you can tailor it to the needs of that particular trade. Yard order tickets, that is something that we've had in the system as well. We've enhanced that quite a bit, which we'll talk about in the following slides. The footage or tally calculator, I like to call it, has always been in the system, but it's kind of been hidden. We've brought it to the surface. We've exposed it, if you will, and actually made it a menu drop-down item. So we'll talk about that. As well as the margin protection on sales, discounts and promos. This is the and prompt payment discounts. So we are trying to make sure you are making a profit for everything you sell. So we're protecting you, and we're protecting your cashiers from giving product away as well. So there's numerous features in the system and modules and functions, if you will, that you can lock in the margins, and that margin can be at the department level. And then, of course, open item accounting. You know, we've always had that in the system. So a lot of your contractors like to associate their invoices with or their payments to their invoices. So they can do that with open item accounting. All right. Next. The lumber features that we've added in the last 2 years. Authorized account signers. So we've added it and made it either required or not required to assign authorized folks that can sign on accounts for their business. All right. So there's been a lot of improvements in that feature as well. We've expanded that a little bit, which I'll talk about momentarily or in the next slide. But that feature is here, and that is a nice feature for your account customers. This isn't necessarily lumber and building materials for this one, but it does apply to anybody that you have as a house account customer. Profit Analyst. All right, this is the feature that I pushed for pretty hard. It's not something that's really for a cashier because it allows you to view the cost, the margin, and the profit for every single line item on that invoice, as well as the entire invoice. So I will show that. If you notice, these items that I'm speaking of now are in blue. Down at the bottom, it shows you that we'll cover these features later in the webinar. So I have a specific slide on that particular function. All right, special order enhancements. We've added freight, automatic deposits, and the printing of a large form rather than just a 3-inch thermal receipt. So I'll go into that a little bit more in depth as well. Footage calculator enhancements. Well, it didn't used to be editable, meaning once you put in your invoice, you couldn't go back and change those tally amounts. You can do that now. It is editable. Also, you can use it and apply this tally calculator when you're creating a PO as well. So those are 2 features that are nice. Also, in addition to that, we've added it as a drop-down menu under the Edit button at the top of the Paladin screen. All right, to move on down the list here, 1,000 board foot, cost wizard. I will show you that. If you're not already taking advantage of that, that is something that lumber and building material stores require, and it's really going to help save you a lot of time because it takes you away from having to go to the calculator, try to figure out and do the conversion of 1,000 board foot to stick price. Right? Also, when you're receiving product in Paladin, and I'll go into this more in detail, you can receive it at the 1,000 board foot cost, and all you do is put the quantity, and it factors in and figures out your cost per stick and retail price per stick. All right, moving on. Yard order printer supports 4 different formats. So if you have a yard order and you want to specify, you want to have it on a half page or a full page, and you want it big text or small text, there's a number of different formats that you can choose from. And I will go into that, elaborate on that just a little bit. And then also kit prices have been modified so they automatically update. Well, sort of automatic. You have to go in and look at that particular kit and then make a decision, press a button, and it updates all of the prices to match your retail prices. This is something that not everybody will use, but those that need it, that their prices change on the kits all the time, will have that capability now. All right, and then mobile to deliver. That is the in-the-field processing of deliveries where you can do this on a mobile device, something like a tablet like I have right here. You just have a 7-inch tablet. You can set up your deliveries in Paladin on the invoicing, and we have a delivery scheduler on the invoicing screen, and it ties directly to this notepad or this tablet, and it makes it very convenient for the delivery guy to take the notebook or tablet, sit in the truck. The tablet will give them directions to the place through the built-in GPS, and then once they dump the load, they can take a photograph of it. They can put notes there. You can also credit items, and it credits the account in real time as you credit the items. So if you get to a particular location and the foreman says, oh, I don't need 24 of those 2x4s, I only need 18 now, or they find a defect and want to return it, the driver just modifies and edits that particular invoice quantity, and it credits their account automatically. Then all they do is take their finger, sign on the tablet, and they're off and away, and that signature that the foreman signed, as well as that credit, automatically is updated in Paladin immediately through 4G or through the wireless mobile network. All right, moving on. So what are the newest lumber features that we have? Well, the yard order print tray selection is one. It allows you to have a laser printer with 2 different drawers, and now you can specify which drawer the yard order goes to. So if you're printing your standard full sheet invoices, and then you have another tray for the half sheet hard stock yard order orders, it can direct it and it will know exactly what tray to push it to. So that's a really, really cool feature. In addition, you can also have the printer in a different location. You can have the printer out in the yard, for example, and it print, and then once you send that over, you just radio these guys saying, hey, there's a new order, check it out. They'll go and they'll grab it, they'll fulfill it. By the time the person drives the truck around, they're ready to go. Also, minimum margin option. So minimum margins, as I mentioned before, we've increased that to be very specific to a department. It used to be where minimum margin was across the board, right? You said, what's the minimum margin that you want to protect your store's margins? But it didn't give you an opportunity to specify individual departments. Some departments you have more leniency with margin, others you're really tight on margin. So this way it gives you a great way to go into your departments and go into building materials and set it a little lower, go into some of your other items, set it higher, and anytime you do multiple activities like promotions and sale lists, you can protect the minimum margin on those. You can protect a minimum margin on your prompt payment discounts. And also at checkout, if the cashier goes and actually changes the price, you can have a threshold of a minimum margin for those items at the department level. Well, we've added this bullet number 2 here is we've added the F4 discount into that realm of minimum margin protection. In addition to, and I'll show you how that's done later in the presentation, but in addition to that, you can have dump SKUs now where you actually can apply a discount to a dump SKU, which is interesting. A dump SKU is, I have my fastener, it's $3, and by the way, I'm going to give them 10% discount. You can apply discounts now on the dump SKUs, providing you have it set up in the system and checked and enabled. All right, moving on, dump SKU discounts. Just talked about that. Following that, job and project tracking and reporting. So this is a huge feature for lumber building material guys and for their customers. Their customers like to track oftentimes their expenses and tie it to a particular job. And we give you that opportunity to do that. You can set up projects. We call them projects, not jobs. You can set up projects in the customer tab, and I'll show you how to do that in a further slide here. And then at checkout, there's actually a drop down right there, right above or right below the authorized signers. And you can set the job at that point. Now, if the job isn't there, the cashier actually has an opportunity to add a job as long as there's manager approval at checkout. So you don't want them just adding jobs randomly, so that way you have a manager that can validate that that is a new job and can be assigned to that particular contractor. All right, and then on the reporting side of that, of course, on the flip side, you need to report on that. So what kind of reports do we have available for that? Well, you can get a transaction report based on a job. So you can select your customer and put in a particular job and say, give me all those transactions. Within seconds, you can provide that to a contractor. In addition, you can sort by the historical sales in the customer module. You can sort by all the different invoices for a particular job, and you can print a list of those invoices as well. All right, I'll show you that a little bit. Now, coming soon along the same lines, we're going to be able to submit an email, or in an email statement, we'll add a Excel spreadsheet that has all of the jobs broken out and subtotaled. Now, that isn't available in the hard copy because it would just be way too much paperwork, but it is available via email. So there is a way to, upon request, generate those statements and batch that information, and I can show you how to do that, or anybody could for that matter. It's just a transaction listing based on project for a particular customer. So that is available in hard copy and or email format, but you will have an option to automatically include that particular spreadsheet when you're generating statements via email. All right. So let's look at the first one that I mentioned I would talk about, and that is the Profit Analyst. So the Profit Analyst you can get to by either doing Alt-A, and a window pops up that you see on the screen here. You see Profit Analyst. It shows you the current line, the red line that's highlighted, and then also the overall invoice, and it shows you those two margins, profits, and costs. So it's nice to have an overall idea of, am I losing money on this quote, or am I actually going to make something? So for large quotes, for quotes that you're building for contractors doing a certain project, you can fiddle with this and reduce some of their prices on certain line items that you have to compete strongly in. And then those other items, you might want to either keep the current list price or even increase it. You can do that in Paladin. So it's a very cool feature. Again, it's not for all the cashiers. It's really for sales guys and for managers and owners. And you need to activate this in the Employee tab. So under Setup at the top, or Edit, Setup, and then the Employee tab, you must set the access privileges for each individual person that you want to have access to this feature, and click the Profit Analyst checkbox. Now you can see in this window that I'm showing here in the bottom right-hand corner, it says Profit Analyst. That's an excerpt of what it looks like in the Employee tab. So just make sure you check that box, save it, and you'll have that functionality applied for that particular person. Special order enhancements. So we have added a feature where you can force the special orders to go to a large sheet instead of the small 3-inch thermal receipt. That is a possibility to do, and you set that up in under Files, Setup, Company tab, and in the Company tab there's an area of special orders. You can see it on the screen here on the left-hand side, bottom side. It says Special Orders, and I have two gray arrows. First gray arrow says For Special Orders to Big Form. The second area that we've added more recently is a Special Order Default Deposit. Now, it used to be with special orders, you'd have to create the special order and go back and do an invoice for a deposit. Now it's all in one move. You just create the special order and it pops up and says, do you want to do the 25% standard deposit, or do you want another deposit? And you put in the amount or accept that amount, hit enter, and it already produces the deposit. It puts it as credit on their account, and you transact the money for it, and it's just all done in one step. It's a really cool feature. Also, we've added freight costs. So when you receive the special order, you can have a special freight cost that's applied to that particular special order. That is also available. Looking at the next feature, the footage. I'm going to see here. Let me log in, get this off the screen. So the tally calculator, we have it where you can get to it. Used to be you have to do Control-K. Now you can click on Edit on the top, and you can see there's two features on Edit at the top up here. Edit Profit Analyst and the footage calculator. So it's no longer a hidden feature. You can get to it easier. And you can edit items once you've already created an invoice and you go back and need to change it, or you're still working on an invoice. You can go back and edit that particular item, and you can do that with a stored quote as well. So, and it works in the purchase orders. So when you have purchase orders, you can also bring up the tally calculator. Moving on, 1,000 board foot cost wizard. So you'll notice the inventory pricing tab looks a little different with your new update. You've got the same average market, last cost. You've got your last quantity, your date it was ordered, and your sale price and the 4 different quantity discount break areas. But there's a new drop down called cost per, and you have a cost per item, per order multiple, per 1,000 board foot, per 1,000 square foot, or per ton. Each one of those enable you to, once you select 1,000 board foot, it enables you to pop up, or it comes up automatically with a wizard that allows you to put in the parameters, and it figures out and calculates that the board foot calculation for a 2x4x8 is 5.333. And all you lumber building material guys out there know that that is in fact what it is. So this is done automatically for you. Once that's done, then when you go into actually receive the item, we've got this window that pops up under PO. You select the item. I've got here 2x4x8 treated. It shows that I have a cost of $349.05 per 1,000 board foot. We show in the grade area below it the cost per stick, $1.86. And all you put in is a quantity, and then it calculates out what the extended price is. And that is done for you automatically. So when you receive it, it automatically goes back and puts in the appropriate average and market cost and your last cost. Moving on, yard order print formats. So here we show that you have, I've got a printer in the bottom right-hand corner there that shows you a larger printer with multiple trays. That you can have regular receipt paper, which is 8.5 by 11, and then you can have different types of half sheets and full sheet yard orders in the other tray. So under the Paladin configuration, under File Setup, Invoice Local, you can select the type of yard order form that you want, and you can have regular receipt paper. In that case, you wouldn't need a second tray. Or you do a half sheet type 1, half sheet type 2, or a full sheet laser printer, which also you wouldn't need the second tray. It's really you need the second tray for those half sheets, so you can put in the hard stock or even just regular paper half sheets. It could be colored if you want, pink or yellow or hard stock. It's up to you really. But when you specify yard orders required, it'll go to that specific tray. So you'll see those features are under to set the tray, you'll have to go to the, I believe it's the Network tab under Setup. All right, minimum margin enhancement. So here we can set the minimum margin by department. You'll see there's a little new look and feel to this when you go into department, where you can actually see on the far right-hand side of that window minimum margin. Now they all will come standard with a -1. That just means null, means there's nothing in there. The regular margin for across the board, the default margin, you'll see a tab up on the top here, very top left under the Paladin configuration logo here, it says minimum margin. That is the catch-all. So you set that as the catch-all, but if you want to go into specific departments, those departments, and set a minimum margin for those departments, it's going to override the global minimum margin. So the department minimum margin trumps the overall minimum margin. But it's nice to have a minimum margin because you may only want to go into 3 departments and set those a little bit different, and everything else you want to just keep at the standard. And in your department, they'll show up as a minimum margin -1, but that just means that they're going to refer to or defer to the minimum margin, which is the global one. Now also, we enforce the minimum margin with the F4 discounts as well. You'll see on the bottom right-hand side of this window, towards the bottom, you have 2 click check boxes. One says invoice F4 discount respects minimum margin. That is an enhancement. And then the invoice F4 discount applies to manually priced items. You can also have a manually priced item accept a discount and also respect the minimum margin for that particular department and priced item. Okay, moving on to project, job, and tracking. This one is the feature we've added very recently, so you can add projects to customer accounts. So if you go into customer accounts, you're going to see the bottom row of commands. You'll see this bar F4 projects and authorized signers. It used to just say authorized signers. Now it says projects as well. You can go in and select that, and then it's going to pop up in your customer screen with, all right, authorized signers or projects, and you select the button, in this case, projects. And now you can add new projects and or remove projects, reactivate projects if you've inactivated them, and so on, all from here. So once you go into checkout, you'll see that the standard dialog box that comes up and says memo or PO number and authorized signers now has a 3rd item on it, and that is the projects. Here you can select a project, add a new project, or select no projects, and you can make it required or not required. Now the real meat and potatoes of this, and the really nice thing about this particular feature, is you can go into your customer module under the credit tab, and now you have a means to sort all of your transactions for the client, for your customer, by that particular job. And they can generate a list, and you can print out a list for them of all the invoice lines, not the detail, just the totals invoices for that particular job. In addition, if you wanted to get the detail, then you would go to the reports module. Under the reports module, you go into the what I need to know and then the transaction report. And here you can define additional settings in the transaction report to search for active projects or inactive projects for a particular customer. So you first have to go in and select that customer in the account settings, of the report settings rather, as you're in the same screen. I just show you the portion of the additional settings, but there's another settings box here that you have to select a particular customer. You don't have to, but when you do, you actually see a list of their projects. If you just said, give me a list of active projects and didn't select the customer, it's going to print out everybody's transaction and group them by their respective projects. All right. Also, even if you do put a project in or you forget to put a project in and you want to go back and change it, we do have a way that you can go back into the, it says under the maintain maintain invoices tab. So maintain is one of the top menus where you go into the back office function, and under invoices you can actually change the project name. All right, so those are a list of all the different features that we have that really cater to building and lumber building projects and lumber and building materials. If you wanted to find out more information, we've got lots of information in knowledge base, lots of information on the webinars, and I've just kind of consolidated the ones that made the most sense right here for you to investigate if you want to look more deeply into these particular features. Well, that sums it up for the presentation part, I want to see if I actually have time. We can see what. See, it has pretty much been about 30 minutes, so we don't have a whole lot of time to go into this, but I will bring up the Paladin application. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and type them in, and I can show you a particular feature if you wanted to see it. But I think the presentation with all the screenshots pretty much explained and showed everywhere where we needed to go. Any questions, Chad? Chad, are you with me?
I'm here, yep. No questions at this time.
All right, very good. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll just sign off at this point. Again, if you wanted to see this or any other webinar, you can see it on our portal.paladin portal.paladinpointofsale.com site. And I appreciate you guys spending the time today. Hopefully this was useful to you. And until next time.